Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome to our first Episcopal Communities and Services webinar of 2021. Happy New Year to everybody. We're excited to be here. Today's webinar is a New Year course for the whole body wellness, and we're so excited to have Elizabeth Logue with us. Before we begin, I just wanted to give you some housekeeping. If you will be doing the course and we'll use chat, so all of your cameras have been turned off, your microphones have been turned off because we're in a webinar situation. So if you scroll down with your cursor or mouse to the bottom of your screen, you will see a chat function. So if you click on that, you can type in your questions and feel free to do that throughout the course. We will address them at the end with Elizabeth. Following this webinar, we will be sending you some instructions, some breathing instructions and Elizabeth's contact information. So don't feel like you have to scribble it down. We'll get those out to you shortly after this webinar. I would like to take just a minute to thank our host today. We've got 3 Episcopal Communities and Services Life Plan communities. The first is the Canterbury, which is located on a hill in Ranchos Palos Verdes with spectacular views. The second is the Covington, and it's located in Elisa Viejo with Saddleback Mountain views. And finally, we've got Montecedro, which is nestled in the hills of Altadena. Then our newest member is 12 Oaks to our family. 12 Oaks is located in Glendale. I would like to say that this past year for all of us has been a challenge with COVID, and we've been holding our breath. We have been fortunate as an organization to have received the vaccinations. So all of our staff and residents have had at least the first round, and we'll be finishing up the second shortly. So we feel like we can start to breathe again, and Elizabeth's going to tell us how to do that. So I'm going to, no further ado, introduce Elizabeth. Elizabeth, her background is in Tai Chi, yoga, and physical therapy, combined with her research on the benefits of active relaxation and meditation, have been masterfully blended together to provide a solution to the rigors of life in our fast-paced world. Elizabeth Logue is a licensed physical therapist, registered Christian yoga teacher, certified in therapeutic yoga, certified in senior strength trainer, a former level 2 Tai Chi for arthritis instructor, and the founder of ATX, Authentic Therapeutics. Elizabeth's diverse background in education and her real-world experience with assisting other people in leading happier, healthier lives has resulted in a program that for many of her clients is an absolutely essential part of their life. And so we are so excited to have Elizabeth. She's going to take it away and teach us how to breathe in the new year. So Elizabeth, thank you for being here.
Thank you, Krista. Wonderful. Thank you. So just super excited, super humbled to be here. I want to first and foremost thank Krista and Tracy and Jennifer for allowing me the privilege to speak about something that I feel very passionate about. And I want to thank all of you for being here, for taking time out of your morning to learn a little bit more about breathing and breath work. And so how I'd like this morning or this webinar to work is I am going to initially speak a little bit about this whole idea of active relaxation. And it sounds almost like a contradiction in terms. If you think of active and relaxation, doesn't seem to really go together, but it does. And specifically about breathing and breath work and how breathing and breath work can change the way that you think, the way that you feel, the way you move, the way you act, and really truly transform the way that you live. And after we kind of go through some of the benefits of breath work, I'm going to get to what I consider really the fun part of this entire webinar, the do part. I'm going to teach all of you some breathing techniques. We're going to cover 2 breathing techniques on sleep to help you get to sleep, or for some of you may have difficulty once you've fallen asleep and wake up, you have difficulty getting back to sleep. And incidentally, sleep deprivation is the 4th biggest problem in the United States today. People are having trouble falling asleep, or if they do fall asleep and get up, they have trouble getting back to sleep. So I'm going to show you 2 different breathing techniques on sleep. We're going to cover a breathing technique to help improve your focus and your concentration. We're also going to cover a technique on relieving muscle tension. Anybody feeling some muscle tension this morning, maybe in your neck or your shoulders, your low back, your hips? We're also going to do a powerful, what I call integrated breathing technique from Dr. Andrew Weil. Some of you may know who Dr. Weil is. He's an MD. He was a former US Surgeon General, and he's considered one of the leading experts, if not the leading expert, on integrative medicine in the world today. So we're going to do a breathing technique that I learned from Dr. Weil that helps to lower blood pressure, helps to lower heart rate, helps with sleep, helps with digestion, and it's a very powerful anti-anxiety breathing technique. And then I also want to cover a coronavirus recovery breath. That's from Johns Hopkins Medical Center. Thought that would be very timely given the current culture that we're in. So we got a lot to cover. And as Krista pointed out, I already sent to Tracy several weeks ago a file of all of the exercises written out, the instructions, how long you should do it, because my hope and my goal is that you will give yourself permission right now to just let everything else go, whatever you brought into this space, and whatever or wherever you're going after this space. If you would just give yourself this gift of this 1 hour and just to try to be as completely present as you can and just relax with these techniques. I will tell you, all of these labs are optional. You don't have to do any of the labs. Observing is a perfectly acceptable situation and solution. And if you start to do a breathing technique and it doesn't feel comfortable, doesn't resonate, by all means stop and you can just go ahead and observe, all right? So just do what feels comfortable for you. Now, if we have time at the end of going through the 6 breathing techniques, I also would like to lead everyone in a mini Breath ATX relaxation program that integrates a little bit of meditation, some breath work, and some stretching, some seated yoga. And as Krista pointed out, we'll save any questions to the end. I realize we have a lot to cover in a short period of time. And one of the things about breath and breathing is it can't be rushed. So if we don't get to your question or your concern, please feel free to reach out to me. On those handouts I sent to Tracy, which I spoke to Tracy and Krista and Jennifer before meeting with you guys this morning. They are going to send that out with a thank you. And that has my contact information on it. So you'll have my name and my email and so forth if you would like to get a hold of me to ask a question or a concern, or like many millions of Americans, when the COVID hit, being a physical therapist, working with older adults, I lost quite a bit of work. And I started it allowed me an opportunity to really start investigating this whole idea of breath work and breathing, and an online platform started developing for breath work and meditation and exercise classes. And so we now have a very dynamic and growing Breath ATX community. So if you would like to be part of that community, hear about workshops and such as this, I sent this out to all of our Breath ATX members who are interested. Please feel free to communicate or let me know as well. Okay, so sound good? Ready to relax? That sounds pretty good, right? So some of you may say, well, I already know, Elizabeth, kind of how to relax. I really didn't take an hour out of my time, to learn how to relax. I find, sitting down in my favorite chair or on my couch and turning on the television to be very relaxing. Now, myself personally, especially in the current climate, I don't really consider watching television being very relaxing, but that's what some people think. Or maybe I get my favorite book and I sit down on a couch, pour myself a cup of tea or a cup of coffee and start reading this book. And even though, I'll be honest, that sounds wonderful to me, that's not what we mean by active relaxation. Because if it's a good book, you should be involved in the storyline. You should be involved in the character development. You should be involved in the plot development. When we're talking about active relaxation or relaxing actively, it's intentional, it's purposeful, it's mindful. It's more than just relaxation. It's literally changing the way you feel physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, relationally, socially, right at a cellular level. It's purposefully letting go of tension, letting go of stress, letting go of worry, of fear, of anxiety, letting go of any negative thoughts, feelings, circumstances, people, events, anything that's interfering with your health and wellness on multiple levels. So when we are actively relaxing, we're intentionally, purposely relaxing both our body as well as our mind, because your body and your mind are constantly talking to each other. It's that whole mind-body conversation. If you've ever had an experience, let's say you left your keys somewhere and you start getting anxious and, oh my gosh, where did I leave my keys? And you start feeling it, right? It starts coming up in your stomach or in your chest. And your nervous system starts sending that information up to your brain. And your brain is saying, oh my gosh, I'm starting to freak out. Where's my keys? Where did I leave my keys? And then it sends a message back down into your system, and your stomach gets more upset, and your blood pressure starts to rise, and your heart rate starts rising. And then it goes back up to your brain. Oh my gosh, we're really getting excited. I've been spending 5-10 minutes. I still can't find these keys. And that's when over time we start developing these migraine headaches. We start developing cancer. We have irritable bowel. We have GERD, all of these symptoms. So we want to start to incorporate some active relaxation techniques into our repertoire of fitness. Now, there's several different ways you can actively relax. Some of you may do yoga. Can I see in the chat? Does anybody do yoga? You can just comment in the chat. All right. Does anybody maybe do Tai Chi, right? Or Qigong? These are all forms of active relaxation. You can, if you are involved with guided visualization or healing imagery, but a very powerful way to actively relax is using your breath. Using your breath. So right now, I'd like to engage in our first lap, right? I want to lead you in a little mini active relaxation program tied to your breath. Now, if you're new to breath work, and most people are, right? It's really kind of still a very new concept, though I have to tell you, given almost 7 months of research on the topic, there is a lot of evidence-based research coming out through Harvard, through the Cleveland Clinic, through the Mayo Clinic, through Johns Hopkins, on the benefits of doing breath work for a number of different diseases and conditions, which we'll talk about in a few minutes here. But suffice it to say, breath work tied to a physical event makes it much easier to practice in the beginning. So we're going to do a mini active relaxation exercise right now tied to your breath. So if you would like to engage in this, if you could just get yourself in a comfortable position. I'm going to invite you to close your eyes unless you have an aversion to your eyes being closed. I invite you just to close your eyes. I'm closing my eyes myself. Just begin by taking a breath in and breathing out. Doesn't matter if you're breathing in or out of your nose or mouth. At this juncture, just whatever feels comfortable to you. I just want you to breathe in and breathe out. Slowly and deeply. Trying to let everything else go. As thoughts come to your mind, acknowledge those thoughts, but then let them go and come back to your breath. Just simply, wonderfully focusing on your breath. Breathing in, breathe out. Being okay with silence. Now, keeping your eyes closed, I'd like you to bring your awareness to your hips, buttocks, resting on your chair. Not making any judgment about the chair, hot or cold, soft, but just simply bringing your awareness to your buttocks being supported by your chair. Breathing in, breathe out. Slowly and deeply. Now, keeping your eyes closed, I'd like you to bring your awareness to your feet on the floor. Just simply noticing your feet fully supported by the earth. Not making any judgments about your feet, just simply observing as you breathe in and breathe out. Completely relaxed, completely supported. Now I'd like you to, keeping your eyes closed, bring your awareness back to your breath. Just simply noticing the breath. Breathing in, breathing out. Letting it all go. Fully supported, relaxed. When you're ready, I'm going to ask you to slowly open your eyes. Take a breath. Now, if you decided to engage in that very simple mini active relaxation tied to your breath program, that was a brief introduction and an opportunity to lower your heart rate, lowering your blood pressure. Hopefully, you feel more relaxed. It was also an exercise in becoming more centered as well as more grounded. You're grounded into your chair, grounding your feet onto the face of the earth, so completely supported and stable in a very calm environment. And that took, you may have seemed, especially if you're new to breathing, may have seemed like it lasted for quite some time, but I would guesstimate that was probably about 3 to 4 minutes. And so in just a short period of time, just kind of taking a time out from your life, especially if you're feeling anxious about something or nervous or worried, whatever, you put the adjective there, angry, this is something kind of a timeout that you can do to help truly transform your health and well-being right at a cellular level. Now, I talked about, there's various forms of active relaxation, but breath is one of the most powerful. Your breath and breathing is the single most important physical act that you do every single day. Do you know that the average human adult can go for 2 to 3 weeks without taking any food? You can go for about 2 to 3 days without consuming any fluids, but the average human adult can only go for 30 to 60 seconds without taking their next breath. Your breath permeates all levels of your being, your physical being, obviously with the breath, your mental being, your emotional being, your spiritual being, your relational being, your social being. When you think about it, your breath really signifies your life itself. Because what happens when we come into this world as a baby, we take our first breath. That's a sign of life. And then when we leave this earth, we take our last breath, right? So we're looking at breath as kind of this whole experience of life itself and how powerful it is. And I have had the privilege of being with human beings, babies, when they first came in and took their first breath. And I've had the privilege of being with human beings when they've taken their last breath. And the scientific community is now saying, based on the evidence, based on research, that breathing and breath work may just be the single or one of the single most important tools you have in your toolbox to truly transform your health and your wellness. Now, I'm certainly not saying, as a physical therapist of 25 years and a strength trainer and a Tai Chi instructor and so forth, that breathing is a panacea of health, that you can just breathe your way through a stroke or breathe your way through Parkinson's or breathe your way through cancer. But what I am saying, you do need to do the cardio, you do need to do the strength, you do need to work on your balance, you do need to have a good diet and make sure you're drinking plenty of fluids, getting sleep, not consuming, a lot of alcohol, but breath, this free gift that is given to all of us, regardless of our age, regardless of our gender, regardless of whether we're in a wheelchair or walker or a triathlete, regardless of our socioeconomic standpoint, it's a free gift and it's accessible 24/7. And it's something that we can use to really change the way we do life. So I want to speak a little bit about the benefits of breathing, and then we'll actually get into some of the breathing techniques that I mentioned earlier. So there are many benefits of breathing, and after spending 7 months really looking at the research, we certainly don't have the time to get into all that, and I don't think we really need to, but I want to highlight some of the benefits that I think are really going to pertain to a lot of you that are on this call. So one of the biggies, and you probably first thing that comes to mind, is that breathing and breath work helps to lower your blood pressure. It helps to lower your heart rate. And it does that by evoking what we call the parasympathetic nervous system. And the parasympathetic nervous system is that nervous system you may have heard of as your rest, digest, and repair system of the body. It's the relaxation system of the body. And so we want that system to be in place so we keep our blood pressure at a good level and our heart rate at a good level. Now, there is a lot of research, a tremendous amount of research around this whole idea of breath work and the cardiovascular system. But I have invited a very dear friend of mine who came to me specifically wanting to have work with breathing and breath work. And her name is Dr. Ann. And so I have graciously asked Ann, and she's graciously accepted to give you her testimony. I think it's really powerful to hear from somebody else how breathing has directly impacted someone's life. So Dr. Ann, if you would please give us your testimony, we would appreciate it.
Can you hear me?
I can.
Okay, can you see me?
I cannot, but we can hear you.
Okay, great. Well, I've always had trouble with my blood pressure, and especially going to the doctor, I would panic because we could never get it below 140 with everything we tried. And I started doing breath work, and I went to my doctor's visit the next time. It was 125. They couldn't believe it.
Amazing. Amazing.
And
So,
I'll just add, you have to keep working on it.
yes, excellent point. So thank you, Dr. Ann. Thank you very much for sharing that. So that, as Dr. Ann pointed out, it's very important when you do, just like anything else. If you're going to go to the gym and you just go once, you're not, kudos to you that you went to the gym, but you're not really going to see the changes, right? We all know you have to keep going and make it a habit. It's the same with breathing and breath work. It's a practice for a reason. The more you practice it, that's where you're going to see these benefits. If you just do it once or twice or just on this call, you're not going to see the benefits. It's something that you have to take to heart, no pun intended, and start applying. And if you start applying, you're going to see the results, somewhat like Dr. Ann is mentioning with blood pressure. And I've had the blessing of working with many other clients who have different situations, different symptoms, different conditions, but have had very positive results as adding the breath work to their fitness program as it stands. And so that leads me into a second benefit is relaxing your nervous system, all right? Nervous system can be relaxed through doing breathing and breath work. I've worked with many Parkinson's patients, many patients who have MS, multiple sclerosis, cerebral palsy, Lou Gehrig's disease, or ALS, as you may have heard it called. And we have incorporated the breath, I'll speak to Parkinson's, into the treatment program. So besides doing exercise and besides working on their walking or balance, whatever the situation may be, we started incorporating breath work, and we saw, different things happening for different folks, but I saw some of their tremors going down. I saw less rigidity. We sometimes see with Parkinson's very rigid movements. They had more fluidity with their movements. They were less anxious about it, less frustrated by just using their breath. So helping not just physically, but mentally, emotionally, at all levels. I've worked with, and I'm actually currently working with someone on their balance. And I was telling Krista and Jennifer and Tracy that it was the first time in 25 years as a PT, and I've worked with thousands and thousands and thousands of patients. And I own my own business, and I ran a huge rehab center in Orange County back in the day and had 30 therapists working for me. So I've worked with thousands of patients, but especially around balance. But I said, let's start with using your breath and self-awareness and just starting with your feet, being rooted, being grounded to the floor, and really just feeling that, sensing that, breathing through that, building that foundation before we start getting into these other, more typical routines we do with balance work. And I can tell you, it's really been amazing, both for myself and for this individual, what we have seen today. What she's experiencing, what I'm feeling, just by incorporating breath and breathing. We know that breath helps with pain modulation or pain regulation. I've worked with patients who have low back pain, hip pain, shoulder pain, hip replacements, knee replacements, but it doesn't have to be just physical, guys. We're talking emotional pain. I've worked at a number of facilities, corporations, people who are going through some emotional stuff, who've come to me in tears, started doing the breath. It has helped them relieve some anxiety, some panic, some worry, some addictions. It helps mentally. People have come to me, I started doing, I give a presentation. I was very nervous. I started doing breath work right before. It was amazing. It calmed me down. I was much more focused. So there's many ways it can modulate or regulate pain. It helps with cortisol. Cortisol is a hormone released by your adrenal glands in response to stress. It's called the stress hormone. One way to regulate cortisol levels is by doing breath work. Beyond, it can also help strengthen your lungs by improving the efficiency, the effectiveness of your respiratory system. That's especially important these days with COVID, right? And with other viruses and infections. Your lymphatic system is closely tied to your immune system. And there's a breathing technique that I just found out through doing my research on the lymphatic system that actually helps lymph, which carries all of these good cells that fight all these viruses. It actually helps to activate that lymph. And it's called the lymphatic diaphragmatic breath. And we don't have time, unfortunately, to get into that this morning, but that's another, there's many, many different breathing techniques out there to help you with a number of physical situations or conditions. But it also helps emotionally, right? There's been a lot of clinical research done on depression, on panic attacks, on anxiety disorders, on stress, fatigue syndromes, looking at the breath. We know a lot of behavioral therapists, cognitive therapists, psychotherapists use breath work as part of their paradigm of treatment modalities. Emotionally speaking, we've addressed, how about mentally? We see more research coming out improving memory, improving learning, concentration, focus. I mean, the first breathing technique that I'm going to show you is one to help improve your focus and your concentration. And there was a study done at Harvard Medical School along with Massachusetts General Hospital, and they were specifically looking, about mindfulness and facilitated by breathing. And they were using MRI scans of the participants' brains, both pre-breathing mindfulness sessions and post sessions. And they actually saw an increase in the area of your brain after doing breathing and mindfulness meditation, all right, in the center of your brain responsible for learning and memory. So really some powerful stuff coming out about the benefits of doing this breath work. And again, I'll go back to the fact that breathing is free and it's fully accessible to all of us. I've had the privilege of working with people in ICUs who are have tubes and so forth, doing breath work. I was telling again, Kristen and Tracy and Jennifer, that I believe my oldest client or patient to date is 108. And I've also done some breathing and breath work to children who are abused and battered. So a wide range of ages that can benefit from doing this sort of work. And again, it takes practice. Again, you need to find the breathing technique that works for you. Not all breathing techniques are going to resonate with everyone. Just like if we were doing cardio exercise, I may like to run, you may like to walk, she may like to swim, he may like to bike, someone else might want to dance. It doesn't matter. We're all getting some good cardio exercise. So with breath work, you need to find what works for you. And as I told you, I've been spending these 7 months researching breath, and I'm actually in the middle of writing a book. And well, I'm actually to the end of writing the book. I finished all the chapters. I'm actually typing out the last chapter of this book. And this is going to be new information for my Breath ATX community, which we have several members on here right now. But instead of writing a book, I've decided to do an e-learning site or an online learning site where people will be able to access these various breathing techniques for a number of different physical, mental, emotional, relational sorts of situations. So if you would like to learn more about this online platform, please again contact me and I'll be happy to give you that information once I have this done. And I'm hoping to have this manual done in about 2 to 3 months, or hopefully within 2 months, this online learning platform. And I do see some questions are coming in. So if you guys can kind of keep the questions to the end, I want to make sure we get through all the breathing techniques, and then we'll try to answer as many as we can. And again, just if we don't get to your question, I apologize. But please just follow up with me and we can chat, or I can send you an email and answer your question. Okay, so wonderful benefits. So I want to get to the breathing techniques. I'm looking over at my clock because again, I don't want to be rushed through any of this, and I want to make sure everybody has the time to really just relax and to breathe. All right. And so how I'd like this to go, if you would please allow me to first educate you and to show you how this technique goes. And then I promise you, I will let you have time to practice this. Okay. So it's really important. If you start doing what I'm doing while I'm trying to teach you, you're going to miss some of this breathing technique. Just allow yourself to just watch me, to observe, and then we're going to allow you to do it. And again, if something you can't really see it, I'll try to look at the chat and see if there's questions. But again, just follow up with me later, and I can go through this with some individuals if you couldn't quite see it or don't really still quite get it after getting the directions. All right. So, because just so you know, I can't see any of you. You can see me. I just am seeing a blank screen. So usually I like to see what people are doing, especially as a physical therapist. But right now, all I see is a blank screen because there's so many people. So I'm going to just show you and then let you try it. All right. Okay. So the first breathing technique that we're going to do is a breathing technique to help with focus and concentration. and it is called box breathing. And breathing is one of the greatest neuro hacks that you have for helping improve your focus and your concentration. So box breathing is also referred to as four-square breathing or as Navy SEAL breathing. It is actually a technique used by the Navy SEALs. So with box breathing, again, I'm just going to first talk you through it and then I'll show you and then I'll let you do it. You're going to be breathing in and out of your nose. All right. So you're going to keep your lips softly closed and you're going to be breathing in your nose for a count of 4. And as you breathe in, you're going to try to allow your belly, think of this big tire, if you will, around your girth. So you have, I'm going to kind of stand up and move here as we get into the labs. Think of a big tire here around your waist. All right. So you're going to kind of be, as you breathe in, you're going to kind of be filling your belly and your sides. And then as you exhale, you're thinking of everything coming back. So you're breathing in your nose and your belly's expanding. And then you breathe out and everything retracts, okay? With box breathing, you're gonna breathe in for a count of 4, and we're gonna use that as an arbitrary number. You're gonna hold for a count of 4. You're gonna exhale for a count of 4, hold for a count of 4. So you think of a box. So you breathe in for 4, your belly's expanding, hold it for 4, you're going to breathe out for 4, your belly's coming back, retracting, hold it for 4, and then go back to breathing in. So it's breathe in 4, hold 4, out 4, hold 4. Now they recommend doing this when you start for about 1 to 3 minutes, several times a day, and then you work up to 5 to 10 minutes, okay? So I'm going to show you kind of what this looks like. And then I'm going to give you a chance to do it. And we're going to, when I allow you guys a chance to do it, we'll do it for about about 2 to 3 minutes. All right. Okay. So this is what it looks like. I'm going to again change my camera angle here as best as I can. I really want to get it more on my belly. So everything's happening through my nose. And I'm going to put my hands here so you can kind of see how my belly's expanding. So I'm going to breathe in for 4, hold it for 4, out for 4, hold for 4. Ready? Okay. So now I'm going to give you a chance to do that. If 4 doesn't work for you, doesn't feel comfortable, that's an arbitrary number. You can use 3, you can use 6, you can use whatever feels comfortable for you. You choose a number, but I'm going to give you about 2 minutes right now just to practice this box breathing. Eyes are open or eyes are closed. So go ahead and begin. I'm going to give it 1 more minute. Okay, now I'm going to ask you to slowly open your eyes. So that is an illustration of box breathing. Again, different breathing techniques will resonate for different people. Box breathing is typically used for mindfulness, for memory, for learning, but certainly you can use it for relaxation, for calming your nervous system. Many of these breathing techniques can be used for multiple functions, all right? So now we're gonna move on and I wanna show you guys the coronavirus recovery breath from Johns Hopkins. Little explanation before. The breathing technique that they use is called the humming breath, like a bee makes. And the reason they're using that breath is because when you do that humming sound, you are increasing the production of a chemical called nitric oxide in your body. And nitric oxide helps with what we call neuroplasticity, or the building, the repairing of your nervous system. And it also causes your blood vessels to open up so more oxygen can get perfused throughout your body into all the organ systems of your body as well as your mind, right? So that's one of the reasons that they're using humming bee breath for patients who have coronavirus or especially post-coronavirus and into the recovery. So the way humming bee breath works is, again, we're going to be breathing in and out our nose. We're going to keep our lips softly closed. When you're going to breathe in your nose again, allowing your belly to expand. And then when you exhale through your nose, you're going to make a buzzing sound. So it sounds like a bee. All right. So I'm going to first let you see it, my face, and then I'll stand up so you can kind of see what's happening at my belly. So this is what it looks like. Okay, so I'm going to stand up and now combine that with my belly, expanding and contracting. See if I can move that. All right, and I'll put my hands again on my waist. So all through my nose. Now they being Johns Hopkins, recommend doing this for about 1 to 3 minutes, several times a day, all right? So I'm gonna let you try this breathing technique if you would like. And again, we'll give it about 1 to 2 minutes to do the breathing technique. All right, so let's go ahead and begin. Eyes open or eyes closed, breathing in your nose, and then exhaling and humming. Mm. Okay, so I'm going to invite everybody back. You can slowly open your eyes. So that's humming bee breath for the coronavirus recovery. I will answer, we do have a question about what are the benefits of the COVID breath again. So I'll address that right here. It helps to increase the production of nitric oxide, which is a chemical in your body that helps repair and build your nervous system, as well as opening your blood vessels so that more oxygen can travel throughout your body. Plus, humming also has the emotional tie in that it helps to create a more calming, a tranquil effect, which obviously is very important if you are suffering from COVID or even know people, family members who are. Okay, so good question. All right, so now we're going to move on, and I thought just to keep things kind of simple, we're going to move into a breathing technique for sleep. And as I told you, breathing techniques, the same technique can be used for a number of different conditions. So this is a modification of that humming bee breath that they use for sleep. Incidentally, in writing this chapter on the one chapter on sleep, I have 14 different breathing techniques just for sleep alone. Because again, not every technique is going to resonate with every person. And what helps one person may not help another. So we're going to use the humming bee breath with a little bit of a modification. So it's the same thing. We're breathing in and out our nose. Our lips are going to be softly closed. As we inhale, again, the belly's expanding, the sides are expanding, again, not forcing anything, but just to the best of our ability. And then as we exhale, everything retracts and we are humming. That's part one. Then what we're going to do is we're going to breathe, same thing, breathing in the nose, exhale and hum. But if you want, while you're humming, place your index fingers in your ears, and that's going to intensify that humming sound. So for people who are having a lot of difficulty sleeping, by increasing kind of the volume of you, if you will, of the humming, it helps them fall asleep more. So again, the first part is just going to be the humming, breathing in the nose, humming out. Then we'll do that for a minute. Then we're going to breathe in the nose, and as we hum out, we're going to place our index fingers in the ears. All right. So again, I'm going to demonstrate that. So let me first just let you see my upper body, and then we'll go to the lower body. All right, so we'll just do a couple of seconds of the humming bee breath since we just did it, the first part, and then I'll do a couple of seconds putting my index fingers in my ear. So it looks like this. And now we're going to add the second part. I'm going to place my index fingers. Okay, and then I'll stand up and I'm going to answer a few of your questions because they're relevant to this breath. So again, my belly's expanding and contracting. I'm going to step back so you can see me. So we'd be humming. Okay, so before I let you practice, let me answer a few of the questions that have been raised. One is, can you use earplugs with this method? Yes, you can use earplugs. Again, you want to see what works for you. If you feel more comfortable as opposed to putting your index fingers in your ears, you can try that. The COVID breath can definitely be beneficial even if you don't have COVID, just because, again, you're increasing that production of nitric oxide. ATX, it's an X, stands for Authentic Therapeutics. And let me see, I think there was one more here. Whoop. Whoa. Okay, so I'm going to give you guys an opportunity now to go ahead and try that humming bee breath, right, for sleep. So we're going to do a minute, just the normal humming bee breath, breathing in the nose and humming out, and then you can try it with your fingers, all right? So let's begin. Okay, now I'm going to invite you all back. So there was a question about how many times a day should you do these exercises? And in the written handout that Tracy will be sending to all of you, it does have instructions and how many times you should be doing each of these. But most of them you want to try to do it a couple times a day. Again, you can't do all of them. Pick one that resonates for you, what you're trying to achieve, and just start there. But you want to really try to do it every day and try to do at least a couple of times a day. All right. Okay, so we're going to move on now. I want to show you the vagal nerve breath, which is to help lower your blood pressure. And this is also a nice one to help relieve some muscle tension. Your vagus nerve is part of your parasympathetic nerve. It's referred to as the wandering nerve because it travels from your brainstem down into all the tissues of your organs. And it senses when you are tense or worried, and it sends these messages up to your brain. So it is responsible, or one of the components responsible for creating that relaxation in your body and your mind. All right, so it's a very simple but yet very powerful breathing technique. And the way this one's going to work is we're going to be, again, breathing in our nose, and you can breathe either out your nose or out your mouth. But the exhale, when you breathe out, you want your focus to be on the exhale. So you want to lengthen the exhale. So you choose a number that's comfortable for you. So let's say you want to breathe in for 4, then you would breathe out for 5 or 6. You want to extend the exhale, all right, to stimulate that vagus nerve. And for this one, again, they recommend doing 1 to 3 minutes several times a day, all right? You're going to be expanding the belly and the sides as you breathe in. And then as you exhale, everything again retracting. All right. So I'm going to use, just for demonstrative purposes, I'm going to use 4 as my count in and 6 as my count out. All right. So I'm going to stand up so you can see. Change my camera just a little bit here. All right. Okay, so now I'm gonna let you guys practice. Again, choose a number to breathe in that's comfortable. Choose a number, a larger number to breathe out. And I'll give you about 1 to 2 minutes. So please go ahead. Okay, now I'm gonna invite everybody back. We do have a question about should we be sitting or standing when doing these exercises? For most of these, you can do them either seated or standing. However, I would say the humming bee breath for the COVID recovery, as well as the sleep, really is a better position anatomically is if you do it in a seated, comfortable position. But you can do these seated or lying down, just find what's comfortable for you, all right? So I do want to address our last breathing technique, which is Dr. Andrew Wheel's, the 4-7-8 breath, or what we call the relaxing breath. And again, this has helped lower blood pressure, heart rate, helps with sleep, digestion, and is a very powerful anti-anxiety. Now, this breathing technique, again, we're going to be breathing in our nose, but we're going to breathe out our mouth, making what we call a whooshing sound. So you're breathing in your nose, and then you're going to whoosh out, and I'll demonstrate that. When you breathe in, you're going to breathe in for a count of 4. You're going to hold your breath for a count of 7, and then you're going to whoosh or exhale your breath out for a count of 8. So it's 4, breathe in, hold for 7, breathe out for 8. And that's one cycle. And he recommends doing 4 cycles twice a day. 4 cycles twice a day. And again, that'll be on the information you receive. All right. So when you whoosh out, it's an audible sound. All right. So you're it's like you're letting go of tension. It's like a balloon letting go of air. All right. So whatever you need to let go of, it's an audible sound, just kind of relaxing your shoulders and you're shh, or it's like I'm shh. Okay. So I'm going to demonstrate this for you and then we'll let you guys practice. So again, I'm breathing in for 4, hold for 7, whoosh out for 8. And again, you can be seated or lying down, probably a little more comfortable if you do this in a seated position. So I'm going to let all of you guys practice that now. So again, eyes open or closed and begin. And when you're doing this, you do want to expand your belly and retract your belly. Yes, good question. Okay, now I'm going to invite everybody back. If you could please, if your eyes were closed, please open your eyes. A couple of things. Unfortunately, I knew this time was going to go fast because you can't be rushed through your breathing techniques. I do invite you, I'll try to answer at least a few of the questions that are here that people have put in the chat. But again, please reach out to me when Tracy does send you all the breathing techniques, any questions or things you'd like to see or talk about. It's really, when you talk about breathing in your nose versus out, with your mouth, the key thing is you want to make sure as best as you can to breathe in your nose, unless you're maybe a deviated septum or some nasal congestion. Obviously, those sorts of things, that's going to cause you to breathe in and out your mouth. But barring all of that, you want to try to breathe in your nose, because your nose, it helps to warm the air as it comes through. It filters all the particles as you're breathing the air in. It also humidifies the air. It brings water into that air so that it's more readily absorbed in your body. You want to try to breathe out your nose if you can, but it's perfectly okay to breathe out your mouth. And especially if you're doing strenuous exercise, or something of that nature, having difficulty getting breath through your nose, it's okay to breathe in and out to breathe out your mouth as well. All right. If you do start to get a little lightheaded, that could be a number. I mean, that's a simple question with a long answer. There could be a lot of reasons for that. It could be, as you're alluding to in your question, because of a lack of oxygen, or you're not used to doing breathing techniques, and most people are not. So it's not uncommon to feel a little lightheaded, but it's something you really want to watch. If it continues, then I would advise, talking to your doctor about that, or your healthcare provider about that. I'm trying to see, there's not a technique specifically for promoting balance. I am just using breathing and breath awareness with this client, and bringing an awareness to her foot for quieting and calming, and just getting a sense of her foot to the floor and building a foundation. So there's not a specific technique we say this is going to improve your balance, but it's using balance along with other tools to facilitate an awareness around her feet and around what we call stepping strategy. One other question, I think we have time, and I'm sorry if you need to leave, please do so and just connect with me. But I want to try to address as many of the questions as I can. Can you address the benefits of belly breathing versus chest breathing? Babies, when they're born, if you guys have any babies around you, my niece just gave birth to a beautiful baby boy, and notice their breathing. Babies breathe from their belly, and that's how all of us were meant to breathe. But as we've gotten older and there's all of the stress and tension and so forth, we begin to breathe through our chest. By breathing through your belly, you're actually drawing oxygen down into the deeper lobes of your lungs. So as I'm breathing in diaphragmatically through my breath, bringing air down in here, I'm bringing that air deeper into my lungs, so I have more oxygen to fuel my muscles, my organs, my nervous system. I think clearer, I move better. So plus it's much more relaxing, and it again stimulates that vagal nerve and that parasympathetic nervous system. Okay. I'm trying to think. Let's see, do we have any?
Elizabeth, there was one at the very beginning that said, can breath work help with chronic pain?
Yes, definitely. Breath work can help with thank you for that too, Krista. Breath work can definitely help with chronic pain. I've used it with several of my low back chronic pain patients and clients. Again, it's not a cure-all. It's a tool that we can use. And there's actually some interesting literature that I have in the musculoskeletal system of this book, I'll call it this manual that I've been writing, where they use breathing because of your diaphragm. And again, I want to get off and tell us, but the diaphragm and the connection with your low back. There's a lot of interactions between the muscles of your low back and your hip, as well as your diaphragm.
Thank you for that, Elizabeth. And I think that you've answered most of the questions here. And again, if you have any additional questions or follow up, we can certainly reach out to Elizabeth. We're gonna send you that information and her contact information. So I know I'm more relaxed. I did all the exercises, and thank you, Elizabeth. That was amazing. It was amazing. So appreciate you spending time with us this morning. Everybody, thank you for joining, and we'll be in touch soon. So we'll have Elizabeth's contact information as well as ours. So again, have a great rest of your day. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it. Thank you, Elizabeth.
Thanks, guys.
Okay, bye.